While we covered aspects of the Elder Scrolls lore that were unique, interesting, and strange, we have only scraped the very exterior. If you guys found what was covered today to be obscure, then you cannot fathom what other secrets lie beneath the surface.
What is the music of life?
Silence, my brother.
If you've seen Part 1, then you are familiar with the Falmer and their history. Before we investigate this theory, allow me to introduce the Wisp Mothers. Wisp Mothers are ghost-like beings that have an affinity for frost magic, and usually take the form of either an undead human or elf. A book found in the Elder Scrolls V titled The Wisp Mother presents possible theories on the origin of these entities, one of which includes the theory that they are the ghosts of the Snow Elves. At face value, this theory may seem plausible, as not only do Wisp Mothers use frost magic, but when taking a closer look at their character model, you can see that their ears are pointed, similar to all elves in the Elder Scrolls universe. This theory is seemingly unlikely, as in the Elder Scrolls Online, Wisp Mothers can be found all throughout Tamriel, and are not just confined to Skyrim. Instead, two much more plausible theories presented in the same book may be the answer we're looking for in this mystery. The first theory suggests that the Wisp Mother is a form of lichdom achieved through a now forgotten form of necromancy. This theory also proposes the idea that all Wisp Mothers were, in life, all a part of a coven of sorceresses who achieved eternal life by converting to this state. The second theory presented suggests that Wisp Mothers may in fact not be undead at all, rather they are an elemental personification of the natural world created by the planet of Nirn itself. This theory holds the most weight, as Wisp Mothers hold similarities to other natural elemental creatures such as Spriggans, Ice Wraiths, and Nereids. Following the aftermath of the Oblivion Crisis, the Thalmor began gaining more political influence and military power. When the opportunity was given, they usurped the throne of Alinor and transformed the Somerset Isles into an authoritarian military state. In the book series Rising Threat, which documents how the Thalmor slowly grew in power, it states, "They slaughtered any who were not of the blood of the Aldmar," a fine excuse to purge the dissidents as well. The Thalmor have never been ones to waste such an opportunity. Other sources indicate that the violence carried over to other provinces as well. In the Elder Scrolls V's main quest line, a wood elf named Malborn helps you on your mission to infiltrate a Thalmor embassy situated near the capital city of Solitude. His motives for helping are to get revenge on the Thalmor for killing his family during a purge in Valenwood. This is exactly what it sounds like. A market where magic users and extremely powerful beings use mortal souls as a form of currency. The most notable mention of this is in the Elder Scrolls Adventures Redguard, when the Slowed Nagasta tells Cyrus that he participates in an illicit soul trade alongside the Daedric prince Clavicus Vile. The Ideal Masters, rulers of the realm known as the Soul Cairn, are referred to as soul merchants in the lore as well, which adds to this concept that they are known for collecting souls of those who have been soul-trapped in the physical world. Fort Dawnguard is a fortress located in the mountains between Morrowind and Skyrim that serves as the base of operations for a vampire hunting faction known as the Dawnguard. It was constructed by the Jarl of the nearby city Riften as a containment zone for his son who had contracted vampirism. A fan theory suggests that Lord Harkon, a vampire lord and main antagonist to the Dawnguard faction, was in fact the son of the Jarl. While this theory is an interesting one and fun one to believe, it can easily be debunked. The fort's construction is traced back to the early Second Era. The Second Era began after the Second Imperial Empire was founded. In the Dawnguard storyline during the events of the Elder Scrolls V, the player finds Harkon's daughter Serana, who, when waking up for the first time in millennia, expresses surprise when she finds out that there is an empire based in Cyrodiil. The first empire that was based in Cyrodiil was founded in the First Era, long before Fort Dawnguard's construction began. However, with endless possibilities, perhaps this theory is true in an alternate timeline. The Thu'um, also known as the Voice, is a form of magic that's used by the words one speaks. It's most commonly used by dragons and dragonborns, although regular mortal beings have been shown to hold the capability of wielding this power, such as the Greybeards and Ulfric Stormcloak. However, such power can only be achieved through years of meditation and training for those not born with a dragon's soul. Dyvaith Fear is a legendary wizard from Morrowind and one of the oldest living characters encountered in the games. He is the only dark elf outside of the Living Tribunal that has lived through the events of the First Era all the way into the Third Era, with Fear outliving all of them past the Oblivion Crisis and into the Fourth Era. There are many interesting things this man has done in the lore that will be explored another time, but one of the fascinating things surrounding the character is in regards to him, despite living 4,000 years, is alive past the events of Skyrim. A theory in-game and amongst fans suggests that Fear survived the destructive events of the Red Year, due to his impressive magical strength, which has kept him alive for much longer than most Dark Elves. The Old Ways are an ancient belief system followed by the Psijic Order, which entail magical practice and study in order to understand the fundamental meaning of the spiritual realm. There is also an in-game lore book that goes by the same name, which describes this system. Aside from the Psijics, it is also said that the Centaurs, a race that have not yet been seen in-game, are followers of the Old Ways as well. Slowed soap is an alchemical ingredient found in the Elder Scrolls 3, and, as the name implies, it's said to have been created from the Slowed, albeit an immature and non-sentient form of them. The Slowed themselves are a sentient race of slug-like creatures that inhabit an archipelago called Thras, found far off the western coast of Tamriel. They are naturally antisocial and only act in their own self-interest. It is said that Sloweds will kill their own young in order to make Slowed soap, which not only allows them to turn a profit, but also gives them corpses which they then use in their recreational necromantic rituals. For those of you who have played through the Elder Scrolls V, you may have encountered the ghost of a headless man riding a horse when wandering the world space. Not only is this a fun Easter egg in reference to the Headless Horseman of old folklore, but it's also speculated that this may be the ghost of Ragnar the Red, a character featured in a tavern song of the same name, who loses his head at the end of the song.
Oh, there once was a hero named Ragnar the Red who came riding to Whiterun from old Rorikstead. And the braggart did swagger and brandish his blade as he told of bold battles and gold he had made. But then he went quiet, did Ragnar the Red, when he met the shield maiden Matilda, who said, "Oh, you talk and you lie and you drink all our mead. Now I think it's high time that you lie down and bleed." And so then came clashing and slashing of steel as the brave lass Matilda charged in full of zeal. And the braggart named Ragnar was boastful no more when his ugly red head rolled around on the floor.
Memory stones are rare gemstones that are used to record and then later project an individual's memories. These memories can be accessed by virtually anyone who is in possession of the stone associated with that specific person. Their origins are said to have been from Yokuda, a continent west of Tamriel, and home to the ancestors of the Redguards. When thinking of mud crabs, what usually comes to mind are the small crabs that are found on the shores of beaches and banks of rivers across Tamriel. However, there have been occasional appearances of mud crabs far larger than that. Some notable examples include the fossilized remains of a giant mud crab that can be found in the plains of Whiterun east of Broken Fang Cave, one that can be found in Greenmead Cave during the Elder Scrolls 4, and Scar, the carcass of a massive emperor mud crab that the settlement of Aldruin was built around. Azure Plasm is a form of chaotic creatia, a chaotic energy that takes different forms and can be found only in Oblivion. The form of Azure Plasm is found specifically in the Oblivion realm of Cold Harbor. When a soul is sacrificed into Cold Harbor, its form is recreated from Azure Plasm into husks called Soul Shriven. If a Daedra native to Cold Harbor is slain in the mortal world, it will be reborn out of Azure Plasm over time, which is what essentially makes them immortal. While the white gold tower stands tall at the center of the Imperial City, a number of hidden tunnels lie deep beneath its pristine structure. These tunnels can be accessed during the Elder Scrolls IV's Thieves Guild questline, as well as during the final boss encounter in the Elder Scrolls Arena. The Skyforge is a massive blacksmithing forge found in the city of Whiterun that players of the Elder Scrolls V will interact with during the Companion's questline. Its origins are unknown, as the structure is said to predate Elven civilization in Skyrim. Based on the forge having the symbolism of a hawk, there is a chance it has a connection to Kinnereth, goddess of the wind, or Kine as she's referred to in the Old Nord religion. However, the forge may also have Daedric origins, as a totem to the Daedric prince Hircine can be found in a hidden cave located beneath the forge itself. This location, known as the Underforge, is where the Circle, which was explained in Part 1, allows new members of the Companions to become werewolves if they so desire. The Imperial Library is a website dedicated to documenting all Elder Scrolls lore dating back to 1998. Not much is known about the hidden Imperial archives, other than that it may be a nod to the Forbidden Library of the Moth Priests. Another potential theory is that it refers to how the Imperial Library site can contain even more obscure content than both the Elder Scrolls Wiki and the unofficial Elder Scrolls page. Every name has a meaning behind it, and the city of Daggerfall is no different. According to text found in A History of Daggerfall, Daggerfall by tradition is said to refer to the knife the first chieftain threw to form the borders of his lands, but there are other legends that may have equal validity. The End of Times cult is a faction encountered in the Elder Scrolls III. The cult was founded on the belief that the tribunal would fall at the hands of a Daedric invasion of Tamriel, and that a ritual suicide is needed in order to prevent it. The cult's predictions end up being true, as 6 years later during the events of Elder Scrolls IV, Tamriel would fall under a continent-wide invasion from the Deadlands, spearheaded by the Daedric prince Mehrunes Dagon. One noticeable detail in Elder Scrolls lore that has many pondering is the lack of female giants. While few and far between, these beings do in fact exist, and while a majority of giants encountered throughout the series are male, it wasn't until the Elder Scrolls Online where female giants were seen for the first time in-game. Meteoric Glass is a rare material that falls onto Nirn from Aetherius, which gives them the alternative name Ethereal Crystals. The Aelids use these crystals to create Welkind and Varla stones that would be used for harnessing light and energy. Other forms of meteoric glass include Vaka, Kulanda, and Malondo stones. The location where Alesia, the founder of the First Imperial Empire, is buried is contested. As documented in the book The Legendary Sancri Tor, Alesia is most commonly believed to be buried in the ancient ruins of Sancri Tor. However, a contested opinion states that she is buried on the site of the Temple of the One, located in the Temple District of the Imperial City. A random rumor the player might overhear in the Elder Scrolls III is that the current Emperor, Uriel Septim VII's heirs have all been replaced with Doppelgangers. There was a riot in the Imperial City that took place during the events of the first Elder Scrolls game that demanded these supposed Doppelgangers be deposed.
This one I'll try to keep as simple as possible. Michael Kirkbride, the lore master for most of the Elder Scrolls up until the release of Skyrim, took numerous religious and cultural inspirations from our own world and used them to build the Elder Scrolls universe. One parallel fans noticed was the similarities between Lorcan, the entity that was covered in Part 1, and the Demiurge, a being that is associated with the creation of the material world, most commonly tied to Gnosticism. The most notable comparison is that both beings were responsible for the creation of the physical or mortal realm of existence. Both beings are also looked upon unfavorably by some. For example, the Demiurge is seen as malevolent by Gnostics due to it creating the material realm, which is seen in Gnosticism as inherently flawed or evil. In the case of Lorcan, Elvenkind views him as evil due to the creation of the mortal realm, severing the Altmer's connection to pure divinity. While the Lorcan Demiurge theory still remains just that, knowing that Kirkbride incorporated real-world beliefs into the universe's lore suggests that this theory holds some weight. The Ideal Masters are the elusive rulers of the Oblivion plane known as the Soul Cairn. The Soul Cairn itself is where mortal souls go to roam for eternity if their soul is trapped in a soul gem. Little is known about the realm's rulers other than the fact that they appear as massive soul gems who reside in towers that dot the landscape of the region. One suggestion behind the origin of these beings is that they were a group of powerful necromancers who transcended to immortality. According to the unofficial Elder Scrolls page, during the development of the Elder Scrolls Battlespire, the Ideal Masters were nicknamed Gem Vampires, a name that paid off in the Elder Scrolls V, as when approaching an Ideal Master, the player's life essence begins to drain. The implication that Wood Elves are part human comes from a line in the Monomyth which states, "The Bosmer had soiled Time's line by taking mannish wives." Whether or not these so-called mannish wives were 100% human, or some other being that was man-like in appearance, is up for interpretation. Aside from the historical documentation that tells of the ancestral Nords coming to Skyrim from the continent of Atmora, there is a mythological belief that Skyrim is the ancestral home of the Nords instead. According to the folktale Children of the Sky, the Nords were breathed to life by Kine at the throat of the world. And with that, we have reached the end of part 2. Let me know in the comments if there's anything on this list or in the previous entry that interested you. I plan on doing more breakdown and explained videos on Elder Scrolls and other video game lore in the future, so stay tuned for more. Thank you all for watching, and thank you to my channel members. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.